It was critically important to Jim and to all of us that we not make the classic mistake of disrespecting as important a culture as Japan, and we wanted to make sure that when we cast actors that were meant to be Japanese, they were Japanese.
We're so used to movies now where they just seem like this pageant of famous people. In this movie, you land in this world and there's not a face you've known before, that you feel like you're completely immersed in something brand new. I need people who speak Japanese, are Japanese, look Japanese, and they also need to speak both English and Japanese, which even further reduces your casting pool. In the case of both the roles of Yukio and Mariko, I wanted really fresh faces. The entire film is going to be fresh faces besides Hugh. Some of the actors haven't been in a lot of films before. That doesn't bother me if they're natural actors. And in the case of both Tao Okamoto and Rila Fukushima, they're both natural actresses.
Tao obviously has had many years in front of a camera and she is high profile, but this is certainly her first big movie. She's hardly done any film work. Rila as well has done some film work, but she's relatively inexperienced, and these are the two lead characters. And he auditioned with them, I auditioned with them, and you could just see there was natural qualities in both.
I want to find a way to get it to camera, so like share it with Hugh's ear.
And with Tao, from the moment the videotape started, there was something equally open and closed about her. She could open her heart and her eyes, and then she could just cut it down.
Get off here.
She was so enigmatic. I found myself just being drawn in. And I was acting with her, and I just turned to Jim and quietly I said, "Does the camera see what I'm seeing?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, 100%.
I wanted to play Mariko because she was hiding. She's hiding so much what she wants, what she want to be, what she dreams. And I found the simulation into my real life. I also had some difficulty when I was little because I'm very tall as a Japanese girl and I wanted to be normal. But then I start to face my destiny like she has.
You could not help but be drawn into her vortex. It was like the magnetic field around her just drew you in. And that has just been extraordinary to work with and extraordinary to watch.
You about done?
Let go of me.
And playing Mariko, who is such an iconic character in the comic book, she's absolutely nailed it.
Am I wrong to think you might visit me soon?
I didn't have any experience for acting ever, but this chance just came up to me and I fell in love with what I'm doing. I feel like I'm learning so much. It was a scary adventure at the beginning, but now I'm so happy that I made my step into this world.
The biggest challenge that we had, because they were not only first-time actors, they'd never done action and they don't have like a sports background or any martial arts background. But what they did have was commitment and work ethic and a drive to want to be the best they can be.
Getting there.
Yeah.
What originally interested me about Yukio was the physicality and ruthless nature of her character. Same thing, right? It has been amazing and challenging journey for me. I didn't actually know I have that much action sequences, so it was really physical. It was a challenge, but it's so much fun.
We just took them from ground zero and started them in the basics and started them basic drills and then choreography and adjusted the choreography to their strengths. And they have some really good stunt doubles in this movie that can perform some of the acrobatic stuff needed seamlessly without breaking the myth of the character. It works really well in Yukio's case, and that Rila can do all of the hard moves and the transitions to these bigger gymnastic moves that few people on the planet can do. So I'm really impressed with Rila, and I'm really impressed with Tao and the commitment that they had.
And they're amazing looking in their roles as well. In a movie, the world speaks to us visually, and both of these women are incredibly beautiful and yet couldn't be more different. Tao is this serene, colder beauty. Her character has kind of lived in this bubble all her life, almost like a princess.
But you want to be left alone?
Yes.
I understand.
Do you?
Oh yeah, trust me.
Whereas Rila's character is this kind of hard-scrabble, punkier Gen X figure who's kind of come up from the streets.
Whoa.
And each are kind of entirely different aspects of Japanese culture. I mean, all you have to do is look at them to understand how vastly different they are. Each, though, has great energy, and I'm sure are going to be acting for a long time.
Hugh.
One of the things I think is so powerful and handled so skillfully by Jim is that it is an unfolding mystery as to who is up to what and why.
The movie is kind of a labyrinth of characters and intrigue, and you're never quite sure, and he's never quite sure who he can trust.
What are you?
A chemist, nihilist, capitalist, a mutation, a viper.
Viper is one of the iconic characters out of the comic book that we haven't seen to date. She is a fascinating, enigmatic character in a movie that is as grounded as the rest of the film is. You know, it's a character that's a fairly heightened character. It's a character that could go very comic booky if you weren't careful. It was challenging to find actresses that could manage that tone. Svetlana was extraordinary. She blew us away, absolutely blew us away.
Don't play with me, bitch. I can kill you.
Oh, if you could make me feel something, Rada, that would be sublime.
Svetlana is a fearless actor, completely fearless. She could make the character sympathetic, hateful, sexy, repulsive, enigmatic, all at once. I mean, she just had this ability to keep you all at sea.
She's kind of just owning this role. I mean, there is something so dominating and so confident about her in this role. She's having a great time.
You call out in the night. Who's Jean?
As much as it's a journey through Japan and through kind of these different fantastical worlds in Japan, it's also a journey about Logan in a way and his women in terms of a great love with Jean Grey. I think one of the reasons we wanted to bring her back was there's this kind of tragic story with them.
Wake up. Where were you?
Bringing Fonka back was Jim's idea. It was really clever. It's sort of a surreal element that runs through it, and it gives it just that extra wild card element.
No! No, Jean!
Part of Jean Grey has always been a fun part to play for me. I don't think any of the audience members and the fans of the comic books ever had the satisfaction of the potential that they saw between these two people. I got to come in these really intimate scenes with Wolverine and Jean Grey in a way that we haven't seen the two of them together, and all of us hoped that we would see them.
Come to me.
I've died twice now in these movies. I died as Jean Grey in the second X-Men film, and I die as the Phoenix in X-Men The Last Stand. So the fact that Jean Grey once again comes back is sort of a great surprise, something that I don't think most of the fans would ever think would happen. Hopefully they'll get some more satisfaction of actually seeing, you know, the two people together in that way.
It was really important to have that touchstone as part of Logan's past. It helps to connect what is otherwise such a unique and independent experience from the other movies to the larger mythology.
I love you, Jean. I always will.
Here we go. Just a little more cautious coming in. Push here. Now hold a moment before you go. Let me get all the way in. We will need something here of him being pulled pell-mell this way. Action. The Wolverine is unique, and the qualities and tones of it require a lot of guardians to help shepherd it through and make sure it doesn't get kind of watered down. In the case of Lauren Schuler-Donner and Hutch Parker, what you're always looking for with your producers is a team that helps you, guides you, offers great suggestions, and protects you, and kind of protects your vision for the film. And that's exactly what's happened on this movie.
Jim Mangold is a terrific director. I've loved all of his movies, Walk the Line and Girl Interrupted. He tells a good story, and his strength is performance.
It, to me, works a little better that they're over here and not here, because it's hard for me to kind of cover. It's like there's this thing going like this right around him. It would be great if it's like back there, and it takes a back seat for a moment, and I can get involved in this.
I think it would have been unwise for us to tackle a story that's this demanding dramatically without somebody that skilled at the helm. I think it's critically important. If you're going to dig deeper, you've got to have somebody who can really do it well, who can do it with a profound ability.
Cut. One more time. Very nice.
Jim has got more out of me. Jim has pushed me every day.
Who hired you? Who hired you?
Yes.
Who hired you? Tell him. Push the scene along. I need answers.
He pushed me to go deeper, angrier, more pain, heavier, more berserk, every take. And if you watch him on set, his passion, his drive, his commitment to every take being the best is extraordinary.
Let's try one more time.
Wolverine is an anti-hero and a tragic hero. It's why we love him. It's why he's been around forever. And Jim understands that. He knows how to make a movie that is fun, that has incredible action. He's done big movies, he's done small movies. He knows how to deliver all those fun elements that you want from a movie like this.
He's got an amazing amount of energy. He's just full of life and great ideas.
No, Gene, please.
Can't hide.
Please, no!
Good, but now be yelling at the top, Hugh, when you're just like you just found the wound, and action.
No!
I felt very confident the moment I appeared on set that whatever directions he would give me would be good ones.
He's really an actor's director, and he really puts himself into the moment of the scene and experiences the setting and the environment as if you were really a character in the moment. And it's really kind of a unique process to watch as an outsider, because you can just see him looking and discovering sort of the spaces and the light and the angles for the first time, almost as if he's the camera.
On the second look, I'd be ready when he comes back to just kind of do a 3-foot push in and then let him go.
He's a very much, I would say, a Hollywood director in the classic style. And the references we've been using for this film, like the Outlaw Josie Wales and French Connection, have been a really interesting reference to bring to an X-Men franchise film.
He's such a passionate person, and he knows what he wants to see. So it makes it easy in that sense that if he doesn't like it, you know straight away. So it's easy to make adjustments and move on. He's hands-on from start to finish, you know, drama, action, the whole lot.
One more time, everyone to first positions. It was really good timing. It was super at the last fucking second, but it was pretty good. Here we go.
He is boisterous, he is loud, he is funny. He's incredibly smart, and it's just fantastic working for such a director like that. And he's also supportive of his creatives, and that is all we can ask for.
I think the fact that he has also shown himself to have a tentpole sensibility, to be able to mount something of real scale, to understand set pieces, to strive to make those set pieces something that can astound. That combination means that he is actually fusing the dramatic and the action. And I think that's maybe the hardest thing to find, is somebody who can understand the relationship between action set pieces and the spectacle that we all love from a movie. In this case, you've got a director who understands how the scenes that lead up to those moments are the runway for those sequences, and that those sequences have to be underpinned by your investment in those characters.
You have to trust the director's vision, and I think Jim had a really solid vision of what he wanted and a strong point of view. But we all sort of followed suit and said, okay, this is the type of Wolverine movie we're gonna make.
One of our goals in this film is that we wanted to make this about great fights, great physical action, where you really believe it's really these people, because it is. Our actors are doing 90% of the action you see on the screen. And we wanted that sense of realism. There's something amazing and visceral about just fighting and battles on a very physical man-on-man level. Pushing the envelope both with action and with visuals, but also doing it in a way that you never lost the reality of the film. I wanted it to feel as real, feel like it's in our world. And at the same time, I wanted the kind of fevered imagination of the comics. I didn't want to lose that.
The thing we tried to do in this film was make sure that the Japanese aesthetic of martial arts comes out, but we also dashed it up with a flavor of fantasy and, you know, gymnastics and acrobatics that you wouldn't be expecting. But the sort of clean lines and the minimal nature of the samurai movie comes through in all the choreography. One slice and the guys are falling. You know, that's sort of the samurai style.
We'd train the actresses, a lot of functional exercises, more core-based sort of stuff for them, which would then they can take onto the film. And just trying to see what they're better at and what they're not so good at, and then just trying to focus on their good points and make the fights work for them as well.
We took licenses like, how do you have Wolverine fight mortals? It's really challenging because as a superhero, he would just be eviscerating them. So I think we had to come up with a set of rules where we allowed the swords to interplay with the claw for moments. Otherwise, it would just be like, claw takes the sword out, it's gone. So we made those moments and we tried to keep the Japanese martial arts aesthetic, and I think we came up with something fun and cool and different.
Maybe it's only at the end we kind of come down and he booms down, reveals him, and the arrow zips down. We know he's there. He's been following them. He almost shot Hugh inside, then kind of pulled away when he saw she was helping, so he's not like some big secret.
Everything you do has to service the story. So oftentimes you look at the things that are in the script and then you make your own personal assessment. Has this been done before? Is this pedestrian? The challenge of action is how do you take the same gags and put them in a different set piece or rework them so they feel fresh.
From start to finish on this job, there's been challenges. Replicating a bullet train at 300 kilometers an hour on a stationary set, simulating speeds, it was a good challenge.
The reason I'm trying to protect, the reason I think it's good we have this one is this is all going to be so exciting with the background that it's good to have it both ways.
I think something we achieved, there's a lot of big scenes with a lot of action. We go from one action sequence to another.
The Japanese stunt guys and American stunt guys had done a lot with bamboo blades before, so we made quite a lot of bamboo blades. The bamboo sword gives you an advantage in weight, although they're hard, not quite as hard as an aluminium blade. They're probably about 1/3 lighter. This allows you to move very quickly. It's much more snappier and definitive. And we also have made, through the special effects department, polycarbonate, polyurethane swords and knives for stunt sequences. So they have soft edges, so they're safe for fight scenes. For the hard blades, the steel blades, we were buying them, but hard blades only play a small part in a production like this for close-up scenes and for stills. The swords in themselves fall into two different categories. There's samurai-type swords, which seem to have a family history, and then there are ninja swords, the ninja toe, which is a shorter, straighter sword. There is controversy about what ninja toes would really look like, as no one's ever found one.
Firing a blade. You right?
Yeah.
The two groups of people who use guns in this film are Yukon hunters and Yakuza. There's rifles for the hunters and pump-action shotguns, but one of the hunters in particular has a high-powered compound crossbow, and that features in the storyline. We researched the guns that were available to the Yakuza. There are quite a lot of American guns, which they get in through illegal imports. And of course, like in most other countries, there some degree of stolen weapons turn up. Berettas and 92Fs are fairly common. The coolest weapon, which I didn't design, is the Silver Samurai sword. It has a shape which is similar to the style of a katana blade, but much larger. It also has the function that it superheats. The sword is very large, had to be made very lightweight so that the stunt guy inside the suit could swing it. It never gets made as a fully functional weapon because no one would be able to lift it. Of course, the claws, they're a very big part of the weaponry of the film. There was a slightly different claw shape to make them a little bit more interesting this time, a little bit squarer. They were padded more so they could be actually used. Last time when they were used, they would dig into Hugh or the stunt guy's hands, and they would change slightly in their shape to accommodate that, because that then limited whether you could strike something with the claws. So there are metal claws, there are polyurethane claws, there are lightweight foam claws, and there are cut-off claws to key with the CGI units. So there is a bigger variety of claws than there are swords and knives because of the different functions they have to perform.
I think the thing that's going to set this Wolverine apart is that the action comes from a different place. It comes from a grounded, real-world type action, and that's different for these big, huge comic book movies.